It's Christmas Eve, 1945. 5 children are sleeping in their beds. By morning, they're gone. Not dead, not missing, just gone. No bodies, no bones, no ash, nothing. And the people who were supposed to find them, they buried the case instead. This is the story the government tried to make you forget. Before we get into what happened that night, you need to understand who this family was, because that's the key to everything. George Sodder was an Italian immigrant, came to America with nothing, built a trucking business in Fayetteville, West Virginia. Him and his wife Jennie had 10 children. 10, they were loud, happy, and deeply rooted in their small town. But George had one habit that would destroy his family's life. He talked. Specifically, he talked politics. Out loud, in public. He was openly, loudly critical of the Italian dictator Mussolini. And in a town with a heavy Italian community in 1945, that made people angry, very angry. One man came to George's door and said, and I quote, "Your house will be burned down and your children destroyed." George didn't take it seriously. He should have. December 24th, 1945. Christmas Eve. The Sodder house is full of life. The kids are excited, staying up late, playing around the Christmas tree. George and Jennie eventually go to bed around 10 p.m. Their oldest daughter, Marion, stays up with the 5 younger kids. Then at 12:30 a.m., the phone rings. Jennie picks up. A woman on the other end asks for someone she's never heard of. Jennie says wrong number. The woman laughs. Not a nervous laugh, a strange laugh. Then hangs up. Jennie notices something weird. The lights downstairs are still on. The curtain door is wide open. She goes back to sleep. 1 hour later, she smells smoke. The house is on fire. George wakes up. He grabs Jennie, Marion, and 3 of the younger kids and gets them outside. Then he runs back, because 5 of his children are still inside. He tries the front door. The flames push him back. He tries to climb to the 2nd floor window. The ladder that always sat beside the house, is gone. He runs to his work trucks. He's going to drive one close to the house and climb up. Neither truck will start. Both trucks that worked perfectly the day before, dead. He runs to his neighbor's house, begs them to call the fire department. The call goes through. And then George does something desperate. He tries to climb the house walls with his bare hands to reach the 2nd floor windows. He tears his hands open trying. He can't make it. And all he can do is stand there, watching his house burn, screaming his children's names into the fire. No answer. The fire department? They didn't show up until 8 in the morning. 8. The house had already burned to the ground hours before anyone arrived. Here's where things go from tragic to suspicious. When the fire was finally out, investigators searched the wreckage for the children's remains. They found nothing. No bones, no teeth, no ash, nothing human at all. Now, here's what you need to know. House fires almost never fully destroy a human body. Even crematoriums, which burn at up to 1,800 degrees for 2 hours, still leave bone fragments. A house fire that burns for 45 minutes? The children's bones should have been there. The Sodders hired an Ohio cremation expert to look at the case. His conclusion? The fire was not hot enough and did not burn long enough to completely destroy 5 bodies. But the local coroner looked at the empty rubble and declared, officially, that all 5 children had died in the fire. No bodies, no evidence, just a signature on a piece of paper. And here's the part that will make your blood run cold. One of the men on the coroner's jury, the jury that decided the children were dead, was the same man who had threatened George Sodder. The man who said his house would be burned and his children destroyed. He sat on the jury. He voted the children were dead, and nobody stopped him. But wait, it gets worse. That same man had also been George's insurance agent, and investigators later discovered he had quietly increased the value of George's home insurance without telling George just before the fire. Someone wanted that house to burn, and someone made sure the investigation went nowhere. The Sodder family refused to accept what they were told, and when they started digging, they found things that should have broken the case wide open, but somehow never did. Clue number 1, the witnesses. A woman at a hotel in Charleston reported seeing 5 children matching the Sodder kids' descriptions just 1 week after the fire. They were with adults she described as being of Italian background. When police arrived to investigate, the children were already gone. A waitress at a diner 50 miles from Fayetteville said 5 children came in on Christmas morning. Alone, nervous, she served them breakfast. She never forgot their faces. A woman in South Carolina claimed she saw 4 of the Sodder children at a local hotel, accompanied by 2 men and 2 women. She said the children looked scared and were not allowed to speak freely. Clue number 2, the phone lines. George's neighbor tried to call the fire department when he was alerted. The lines were dead. Cut. Someone had physically cut the phone lines to the Sodder house that night before the fire started. Clue number 3, the mysterious object. After the fire, the family found a small, strange, rubber-like object near the house. George believed it was an incendiary device, something used to start the fire. Investigators dismissed it. It was never properly tested. Clue number 4, the vanishing investigator. Years later, the family hired a private investigator to follow a lead on one of the missing children. The investigator disappeared. He was never heard from again. Every single lead, every witness, every investigator who got too close, gone. For years, George and Jennie refused to give up. They converted the site of the burned house into a memorial garden. They put up a massive billboard on Route 16 with the faces of all 5 missing children printed on it and the words, "What was their fate? Kidnapped? Murdered? Or are they still alive?" That billboard stood for nearly 4 decades. And then, in 1968, 23 years after the fire, Jennie Sodder opened her mailbox. Inside was an envelope, no return address, postmarked from Kentucky. Inside the envelope was a photograph. A young man, around 30 years old, dark eyes, dark hair, and a face that looked unmistakably like her son Louis. On the back of the photo, someone had written, "Louis Sodder. I love brother Frankie." Jennie collapsed. Her son, her boy who she had been told burned to death on Christmas Eve 1945, was potentially standing there in a photograph, alive in his 30s, reaching out to his mother. The family hired an investigator immediately, sent him to Kentucky to trace the photo. He was never heard from again either. George Sodder died in 1969. Jennie passed in 1989. Their last surviving child, Sylvia, died in 2021, still believing until her final breath that her brothers and sisters had not burned in that fire, that they were taken, that someone knew the truth, and that nobody ever told it. So what actually happened to the Sodder children? There are 3 theories. Theory 1, they died in the fire. The investigation was just incompetent. The fire did burn all night. The search was rushed. Maybe the bones were there and missed. It's the simplest answer. Theory 2, they were kidnapped by the Italian mafia. George's anti-Mussolini stance made powerful enemies. The fire was a distraction. The children were taken as a message. The cover-up involved local officials who were connected to the same network. Theory 3, and this is the one that keeps people up at night. The children survived. They were raised under different names by different people, never knowing who they really were. And Louis found out. He sent that photo. He reached out to his mother, and then someone made sure that investigator never came back. The truth is, we don't know. We will probably never know. What we do know is this: 5 children vanished on Christmas Eve. No bodies were ever found. Witnesses saw them alive. The investigation was compromised from the inside, and every person who got close to the truth disappeared. The Sodder family spent 40 years with a billboard on the side of the highway asking the world, "What happened to our children?" Nobody answered. And that billboard is the most haunting image in American history. If you made it this far, you already know this story needed to be told. Subscribe, because the next case we're covering is just as dark. And if you've never heard of it, you're not ready. See you there.